All right, all right. I am so, yes, I'm getting better. I promise you folks who've been watching me all week and saying, when is that dude going to get better? Today is that day because I feel better. My voice is almost all the way back. And so we are going to have some fun today. So I have Nikki. I'm just going to call her Nikki G because I don't want to mess up her last name too bad as I try to do that. Is on the show with us today. Her and I have had the opportunity to just have a couple of conversations, and we're part of a community together. And it's just been super fun getting to know her. And then we start thinking about what does it mean to live boldly with purpose. And as I've been, thinking about it as I've been sick, I guess is what I'm saying, is I'm just realizing work doesn't stop, right? The things that you do, everybody keeps telling you to take it easy. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? How do you other than it just being knocked out in bed, how do you stop your mind from running? How do you stop your daily activities? Now, I have been not spending as much time running around in the streets that I usually do. So that's been pretty cool and pretty good to make sure that I'm not doing that and resting. But all I've been doing is writing down, Nikki, all these things that I want to accomplish, all these things that I want to do, all these things. Because when you slow down your physical running activity, your mental activity seems to pick up. And, been talking a lot about things that I've done in the past. And like this morning, they were asking about stories that you can connect to that, might have been pivotal times in your life. We were on this call, and I talked about college, and I talked about the fact that I went to college not wanting to go to college. I had no desire whatsoever, is what I guess we're all supposed to do. I was in this special ed program. I don't know how much I absolutely needed it. I just knew the times were the times, and that's what it was in the early 1970s. My dad had been promoted in an affirmative action program. So he got promoted, and we moved out to the suburbs here in Denver, Colorado. And we began our journey in what was then now a white neighborhood compared to the black neighborhood that we were in. And so in my elementary school, I don't know, 300 or 400 kids. There were 3 folks that were people of color. There was Ernie Pitts, my sister, and me. And so we were the ones that were there. That kind of grew through high school, where there was 3,500 kids in my high school. My graduating class was over 800. So, and out of that 800 in our graduate class, or the 3,500 kids, there were 35 folks of color that were in my school. And 20 of us were in special ed classes. So I kind of questioned why all of us were in special ed classes during the early 1970s. Things have obviously changed, and it's still a good school. But I wasn't going to college. There was no way. I decided I was a gymnast when I was younger, and I couldn't keep being a gymnast. I grew a whole bunch during high school. I think 5'2" when I started high school and 6'1" when I left high school. Wow. So I grew a lot and couldn't be a gymnast anymore. I figured, okay, I'll just go be a stunt man. I like Hollywood, that kind of stuff. And I was a track athlete, so I had some scholarship offers. I didn't have to pass the ACT. I didn't have to pass the SAT. I had to take them. I'm not going to tell you what their scores were. My scores were. I'm just saying I took them as if I was not going to college. And so my mom just begged me. She said, "I'll buy you a Jeep if you just go to college and you go graduate. When you graduate, I'll buy you a Jeep." I'm still waiting for that Jeep that she's going to buy me. I've bought myself 4 since then, so I can't say I've never had the Jeep that I wanted. But at the same time, that's kind of where life opened up, where I begin to see what God might have for me in my life. I had some amazing mentors in my life. My mentor told me to get more mentors and more people. And then I started exploring, what did God put me on this planet to do? And I realized I don't think God put me on this planet to be a stuntman. If he did, It's getting to be a little too late because I would just be able to do like these 80-year-old actors or something, which there seems like to be a lot of them, all the ones when we were growing up. So anyways, I don't know why I digressed and told that whole story today because I'm just excited about living boldly with purpose. But we have Nikki on today, and I've asked her to tell her story. So we're going to find out in her story today, is she living boldly in purpose? Because I think she is. I think the different pivotal things, we have some things that we've done together, like education and teaching and all those wonderful things that you'll be able to hear about. Nikki, you can't get this wrong because it's your story, right? Even if you made it up, we wouldn't know. Except now, I know we're streaming on your Instagram, and so the people, if you did make it up, they might like text us back or something and say, "No, wait a minute, that didn't really." I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm so excited to have you because of the things that we're going to get to talk about and the impact that I know you are making in people's lives today. And I can't wait to get to that. So the floor is yours. Thank you for being on. Thank you for coming on our show. I can't wait to have these conversations with you. And it's all you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Well, I'll start with, so here's what I tell people, because my name can be hard to say, right? We've got 2 G's. Is it hard G, soft G? I don't know. So what I tell people is I am such a gem that I have the word in the middle of my name, Gangemi. Gangemi. Yeah.
Gangemi. I got it. All right. I love it.
Yeah. And to answer your question, so I finally feel like I'm living my purpose. It took about 40 years to start living my purpose, but I think I finally began the journey.
I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Like you, similar backgrounds, came from the education world, went to college, didn't necessarily want to go to college. I wanted to go to school to be an actress.
Oh, okay.
My mom wanted me to go to college because she didn't. So she went to hairdresser school. So she said, when I have kids, they're going to go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, great. I'll go to college. I'm going to major in theater. Oh, no, you're not. Theater is not stable. You can't major in theater. So, a public communications degree was chosen for me because, we need to communicate in anything that we do. So that's what I did. And then I went to go move out to LA and pursue the dream of acting because that's what I always wanted since I was a little kid. I wanted to be anybody but myself. I was just not comfortable in my own skin, in my own mind, lots of thoughts I didn't like going on, swirling around in there. So to pretend to be somebody else, that was fun. And that felt a lot better. So in LA, I was 23 when I moved out from New Jersey to LA. A 5-year breakup inspired that leap because it was a little scary to do. But I was so distraught when he broke up with me that I thought, time to start my life again. I'll just pack my bags and ship my car and move out to LA and pursue this acting dream. So I did it for all of 1 year. I made a decision that I'd make it in a year, or it meant that I didn't have what it took and I would never make it. So gave up on it and came back home. And then I was like, well, what do I do now? I'm 24. I have this degree. I don't know what to do with it. And then, I was guided again by well-meaning people to become a teacher because you come from a family of teachers and it's such a rewarding career. So I said, no, that's not what I want to do. Until I finally said yes. My best friend said, there's something called the alternate route. We can take the state exam, become teachers. We'll work together. We'll have summers off. I eventually said, yes, I pass. She fails.
Oh, no.
I become a teacher. She doesn't. And then I blamed her.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
How dare you? No.
Yeah, now what am I going to do? I have to do this by myself.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And, I taught for 15 years. Time flies.
Oh, it does.
Right? We tell ourselves things like, I've got to be responsible. I've got bills to pay. I kept saying, I'm going to put it off. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I finally get married. And then I'll have a second income. And then I can do something like take a leap. And then that wasn't happening. So, so I was approaching the age of 40. And prior to that, I think I met the man of my dreams. I was on Plenty of Fish, and I attract this guy, and I think, oh God, he's perfect. And turned out he was a reason and a very short season.
Uh-oh.
But let me just back up 1 second. Prior to meeting Mr. Spirituality, as I call him, I ran into a coworker in a parking lot of a coffee shop. And I was complaining about how I was not happy in my job and all this. And he said, Nikki, instead of complaining, why don't you just bloom where you're planted? And I felt something in my body. So I knew it was important, but I didn't know what it meant in that moment. So I said, I'm going to put this on the back burner. Fast forward a couple of months, I'm dating this guy who I think is the one. And he says to me, you know, Nikki, if there's something that you want to do, then you don't have to wait for opportunity to come your way. You pave the way. And then with that, not mindful matters, bloom where you're planted came back up to the surface. And then Mindful Matters was born. Okay. That was a mindfulness program originally, because I thought, well, if I'm going to bloom where I'm planted, I'm teaching in a district that I was a student in, and I was watching the kids continuing to be picked on and bullied and not know how to handle it like I didn't. And I know how I allowed it to impact my life and really stunt me. So I said, I'm in a position here to teach them how to manage their emotions, how to change their thoughts, and how to really start knowing their worth and being happy and loving themselves. So originally, that's what it was. My audience was kids in a classroom. The principal let me pilot the program, and I really loved it. I loved teaching that. And after a year of piloting the program, the district shut it down, and I thought of giving up, but luckily the principal said to me, this was just one no. She said to me, you know, I was one of the youngest people to become a principal, and I was told no about 35 times before I was given the opportunity to be a principal. So she goes, this was just your first no. Just keep going. And that's when I looked at what might this look like. And I attracted a business coach. I learned about the coaching industry, which I didn't even know about. And that was my entry into the online world of coaching. So I'll pause there. That was one of the big pivots. And you're on mute.
All right, sorry, folks. I was telling you earlier, my mouse went out, and so I don't know how to unpause stuff without, using my trackpad. And I was coughing, so I put it on mute.
Yeah.
So I apologize for that. So much to unpack here, because when I think of us growing up, and I think of our identity and who we believe we are, and the choices that we make as a result of that identity that we hold for ourselves. Maybe you can kind of share with us, like, your belief system. You believe, hey, I can make it as an actress, because you wouldn't have moved all the way to California if you didn't. And then but there was probably somewhere in there you gave yourself an out if you didn't make it. So it wasn't like I'm fully in. It's I'm fully in for 1 year. I'm going to give it a go, and then I'm going to leave. Maybe talk about your identity at that time of who you believed you were, compared to how it's grown now, where you're like, hey, I'm gonna bloom wherever I'm planted, and that's gonna be spectacular. And you can't fail at that, right? So maybe talk about that a little bit. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think for me, it's really easy to start something.
Okay.
Which is not common, right? Usually getting started is the hardest part for more people. But for me, it's like, well, I'm just going to get started. And like I said, that breakup really was the trigger for that, because I had become so dependent, just being with him 7 days a week, that when he left, it's like, well, who am I without him? Speaking of identity, I'm like, what do I do with myself? So it's like that pain was worse than moving across the country and starting life over again. I'm like, well, that's got to feel better than this. So it was easy to get started. And I think at the time, I mean, I'm the oldest of four, and I was very much sheltered. You know how parents are with their firstborn, and then a girl on top of that. Like there were lots of, there was a tight leash. So to move across the country and do everything on my own, it was a big deal, but I did it. I found a roommate. My mom's cousin lives out there, and that was really helpful because I had somebody to kind of show me around, and he worked in the entertainment industry in the catering and event planning. So I had a lot of introductions to big name people. So it came really easy. And then I missed home, honestly. I just, I wasn't the independent person I am today. Gotcha. So it was that missing of being home. I knew I had a year on my lease, and the roommate I had found, we couldn't continue to live together. So I knew that I'd have to find another roommate, another place to live. It started to feel a little overwhelming. And I was just looking at more focused on how hard it was. I was working more than anything just to pay for rent and food and, things like that. Stuff I wasn't used to because I was always taken care of prior to that. So there was a couple of things that just made me make the decision that, I don't have what it takes and I won't make it. One thing I do remember in particular, one day I was on the set of, I think it was City of Angels. I was doing some extra work, and we were all sitting around in a circle waiting for our turn to, film. And one of the guys next to me had said to me, Nikki, if this is not the air that you breathe, then go home, because there's people coming in by the busloads every day who really want it. And if that's not you, then you might as well pack your bags. Now, I took that quite literally. And honestly, it was just evidence for what I always thought, what I already thought, right? It supported the belief that I already had, that I didn't have what it took. Maybe I wasn't, enough, pretty enough, whatever, the enoughness thing. So there was that combination of things that I said, well, it's just easier to go home, honestly. And so I did. But it was a regret for a long time, because you know how you don't really see things until in hindsight?
Yeah.
Afterwards, I saw how much opportunity I had through my cousin. I was meeting big name directors and producers, and he said, you've got to give this time. He's like, give this 5 years to build relationships. You have opportunity that most actors coming here don't have. But I didn't listen. But it's all for a reason, right? So I regretted it briefly, for a while, and then I stopped, because it's like, well, what's the opportunity for me in this now?
Thank you for sharing that. It's so enlightening, because I love that question. If this isn't the air you breathe, and I guess in that industry, that's almost got to be a lot of it is, I want it so bad, but you don't really know what you want sometimes at that age. You want to try stuff, but at some point, and then you move into teaching, right? And you do it for 15 years. I don't know. I'm hearing you. I don't know if that was the air you breathed.
It was not
either, but you did it for 15 years because it became easy, right? It became a routine, and you're going home every night. You're doing the things for the kids, but you're still. I'm having a feeling you're thinking about, wait, what could I do more with my life? Because I'm picturing. I've talked to you. I don't see you as that career teacher who just at age 70 is still trying to grade papers, right? Talk to us a little bit about that whole process there, and what were you thinking were possibilities? Because once you get a good salary, or good enough to live on, and you get a good, and you have a routine that works, sometimes we become complacent in just showing up every day because it's easy.
Exactly. Like it was easier to leave LA than stay beyond that year. It was easier to stay in teaching because everything was already set up. I had to just keep, playing the role, year after year, until it became so uncomfortable that.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us do that. Like we wait for the nail to become so painful. It's like, I don't remember who said it, but that story of the dog howling. Is it Les Brown?
Yeah, it's a Les Brown story.
Like
at least he tells it. I don't know. He
tells the story, and it's like, why doesn't your dog just get up? Well, it doesn't hurt enough yet.
Yeah.
So it didn't hurt enough yet. So I kept doing it.
So during that time you're teaching and it's not hurting enough, but you're still there and you're still thinking about there's an out. Did you start working on you? Like, were you reading books or reading with people and, the things that we say you need to do in order to move forward in life? Maybe walk me through some of what personal development that looked like, and maybe some of the things that you go, oh, these were aha moments that said, wait a minute, this isn't enough.
Yeah. So personal development, I started that journey at 16 years old.
Good.
Yeah. I was, like I had said, I was not comfortable in my own skin. I was always unhappy with my appearance, never really loved myself or accepted myself, struggled with negative thoughts, was told I had OCD when I was a kid, that obsessive compulsive thinking. And so it's like, how do I quiet my mind? How do I just, relax? So my mom bought me the first book, Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov. And then I got into Ian Van Zant's work. And I just loved what I was learning in these books. And it was just showing me something else that was possible besides the limits that I held in my mind. So that's when it really started. And I did years of therapy on and off for 15 years. What changed with my decision of thinking that I know that there's something more was one therapist I was seeing. She introduced me to mindfulness. So I say mindfulness was my ticket to mental freedom. And just learning different breathing techniques and tapping. She introduced me to emotional freedom technique, and the thoughts really slowed down. So I could I learned how to start being able to hear my own wisdom. How they say that we have the answers inside of us. We really do. We have to stop and get quiet and be willing to sit in the discomfort, which will pass, and listen and pay attention to how you feel in your body. So once I started doing that, I was approaching the age of 40. So I say I had an early midlife crisis. And I was looking in the mirror one day, getting ready for work again, like, and I had this thought, what if another 10 years goes by? And now I'm 50 and I'm still in this position. I'm single in a job that I don't like and feel bad for not liking it because the world thinks highly of teachers, right? What if nothing changes? So that's when I thought, I've got to start pointing the finger at myself and taking responsibility, because though I was guided into teaching, I was the one who showed up every day for 15 years. Nobody made me do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the things that you said that I would love to unpack, and if you don't want to go down this road a little bit, that's fine too. But as you're learning this, and you said I was willing to go to therapy, which is such a a no-no, or like we don't ever tell anybody that we're, somebody else is helping us through life, or we have those connections. Um, what was it, or not like the event that happened, but in your mind that made it okay that there was somebody else in your life? I think of therapists as mentors and that kind of stuff. I always ask this question. I'll ask it to you too. Is therapy versus having a coach? What's the difference between coaching and therapy? But answer that second. But what part of your world said, okay, this is something I need, and how was it able to help you? Because it seems like it gave you such clarity to be able to uh, now venture out and not just be a teacher anymore.
Yeah, I was always an open book.
Okay.
And willing to share and willing to talk. My first experience with therapy, I think I was 10 or 11 years old. It was a child psychologist. And I used to love going. She was the one that had said, oh, your daughter has OCD. I only went for 2 months. And then she said, oh, told my mom, your daughter doesn't have to keep coming anymore. She just has magical thinking. And I remember being disappointed, like, oh, I love going to see her. She shows me pictures and I get to tell stories of what I see. So I was always open to therapy. And then I went back probably in my 20s, and I went through different therapists. What was really cool was one of them showed me how to question my thoughts. I had a lot of negative thoughts, like a lot of fear-based thoughts. And the pattern for me was that if I felt too good or if I felt too happy, I'd have thoughts of something bad happening to somebody that I loved. And it was almost like it hijacked that happiness. And this one therapist showed me that she helped me to see that when I didn't want to deal with challenge in my life, it was much easier to go into that thought of those bad things happening because they weren't real. And it's almost like I got to escape. And I found that fascinating. So I became really curious about the mind and how it works. And I wanted to really learn and understand it. And she showed me how I could start changing that. And I did. So that kind of started me going down that road. And then with mindfulness and tapping, and then I got into other modalities like NLP and hypnotherapy, I was like, wow, we really can change the patterns in our mind, those patterns that can really hold us back and stunt us in life. And it doesn't have to be that way, Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because there's so many folks that I continue to talk to and watch, and they always, if they've used therapy or as something that they don't want to tell anybody, and if it's something that I could never do that, I could take care of myself. So just thank you for sharing, because it wasn't like, hey, I had this huge trauma that happened in my life and I had to now move out. I just needed somebody that could help me and guide me through a process, and so I'll let you answer that question: is coaching versus therapy, and the role of each of them and how they do. What would you say is, because some people say, well, I need a coach, and some people say, well, I need a therapist. What kind of talk to me about your thoughts on those?
The difference. Yeah. So I've experienced both. Like I said, many different therapists. And then I've experienced coaching, because when I became an NLP practitioner, I got to go through the techniques as the client. The difference that I see is with therapy, it's more talking about the problem, talking about the past. And with coaching, it's more asking questions that help you to focus on where you want to go and the future.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I've been coaching track now for 38 years. And I can think of all the athletes but all of our conversations are on where we're going. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in therapy, because you have to talk about where you're going in therapy.
Right.
But we very rarely enter into, in coaching times, all the things that, fixing things or working through things or challenging the way your mind was like, okay, here's what we got to go this way. We got to think this, we're always motivated by what we can't control or what we don't know, but what we're trying to control it though. Whereas in the therapy part, you're really to me, you're kind of dealing with things that already happened. We're not trying to control what's going to happen because it already happened. Now we're just having what our perspective is on the things that have already happened.
Right.
I guess.
Exactly.
And then you move into, obviously, how are you going to work through when things do happen and they control you, because this is what's happened in the past and we don't want that to continue to happen. So yeah, thank you for that. NLP, let's talk about NLP a little bit, because I don't know if a lot of people know what even NLP is. We hear this. I think you and I are a little bit older, and we went through the Tony Robbins era, and and NLP is huge. And hey, this is, as I was getting going in my personal development world, that was a bit, but I don't hear as much about it anymore, at least from younger folks who say they understand it. So maybe, or maybe it's just called something a little bit different, but using the same techniques.
Oh yeah. And we're already using these techniques and we don't even know it. Like, it's, for example, it's the difference of somebody saying, well, if you're available, I'd love to meet you for dinner. Switching it to, when you're available, I'd love to meet you for dinner. So the word choice is just a simple example of NLP that's already used, and I'm sure you've used the if-when thing as well. So yeah, we're already using it. But one definition I love of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is it's the lost user's manual, the user of your mind. Like, how do you learn how your mind works and then leverage that? Yeah. So a lot of it is around the words that we use and how we represent those words in our mind. It's very different for people. I could use the word grandma. And for some people, well, you tell me what comes to mind when you hear the word grandma.
My grandma is what comes, and who she was as a person and how she took care of us as kids, and what an amazing lady that she was. And so when I hear that word, I think of that caring and that, putting your arms around, and oh man, that woman could cook, like unbelievable. And I think all grandmas could cook. And then I eat some food from some grandmas who forgot cooking school. And no, they can't. But my grandma could. Yeah.
And so I'm sure that there's some people that maybe have a different representation of grandma. It's not the good cooking and the warm, fuzzy feeling. It could be different. Another example that might be more relatable is the ocean. Some people can look out at that ocean and be like, oh, jet skiing, parasailing. I could just lay there all day in on a little floaty thing. I look at the ocean and I'm like, fear.
Yes.
The fish, the sharks. I just want to sit on the beach and look at the ocean and smell it. And that's it. I don't want to be in it. So, when you start to ask people questions about what something means to them, you uncover a lot more context and information that's missing. And when you do that, it really helps to improve communication, not only with yourself, but with all the people that you want to interact with in your life. And that's the power of NLP.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so good, because we start thinking of, like you said, those different contextual ways that we see things. And sometimes in ways that prevent us from becoming that person that God put us on this earth to be, or becoming that being purposeful in the things that we do because of that fear. Like my father-in-law is so afraid. He watched Jaws when he was a young man, and won't touch his feet in the water. And I was a beach guard, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, they're not coming to shore, and they're not going to eat you, and they're not. But if he needed to do something that required being, in the ocean, I think he would freeze up and it would stop him from being able to do that. And we think about our lives, like what's stopping us? I'm incredible at calculations or something or accounting terms, but I don't have any money, so I think I can't do it or be that for somebody, and then you're not able to do it. What I would love for you to kind of talk about is this cross between NLP and this new thing that we have called Chat GPT or AI, and how are we approaching some of this AI stuff, but in our viewpoint of what that is, whether it's something good because the robots are going to take us over and we won't have to, we get to go dance and party all the time, or it's the robots are taking us over and I have no reason to live. And we're so scared of it. But just give me your thoughts real quick. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, well, actually, what you just said about the robots taking over and all this stuff, it sounds more like hypnotherapy to me.
There we go. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like where, the power of suggestion and what we choose to, what we listen to and what we let in and plant a seed. And so, yeah, ChatGPT, I use it a lot for my, content creation and all that. I see it as a tool, like NLP is a tool, hypnotherapy is a tool. These are all tools. And they can be used positively or negatively. I mean, look at a knife. It can cut a nice, juicy steak, or it can kill somebody. Yeah. It's the intention behind it. So when something is done with a positive intent, then it's a tool for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm agreeing with you as a tool. And sometimes we don't see new technologies or things that we don't understand even as a possible tool.
Yeah.
We see it as evil somehow, that it's going to take over. And will the AI take over a whole bunch of people's jobs? It absolutely will, on some of the things that we might not should be doing. Like, when I think of putting pears in a can, and then putting the lid on the pear and then sending it out to the grocery store, I'm not so sure that a human being should be, it's not doing it, most of it right now, but I'm saying I don't think that's reaching the human potential, but there's somebody in a factory somewhere that's saying, I do this every day, all day long. That's all I've been doing for the last 40 years. And that's all I'm going to ever do. And so if it takes away my job, I won't have anything to do. And we forget the power of our brains or the power of our minds or the ability to learn. And I'll ask you this because I just finished a book called Relationship versus AI. That's why I'm bringing up AI. But when I really think of the whole premise is knowledge based compared to learning based. And you and I have grown up in a knowledge based world where the more things that we know, the more we feel like we are part of the world and needed. The less things we know, we feel like we're not as smart. Like, I'm never going on Jeopardy. It's not happening.
Oh, that's not happening.
Because I'm not smart. But we think of, oh man, that guy's like so cool because he's the smartest guy. He can answer all these questions. But what we don't talk a lot about is learning. Like, our ability to truly be able to learn something is what's going to take us into the future and not what we know. And so how do we separate those two? How do we go, okay, and even in the things you're doing with mindfulness and that kind of stuff, are you teaching people in mindfulness, these are all the things you have to know? Or are you talking about how do you grow? Maybe kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll just say this thought, because related to ChatGPT, that it doesn't have the human emotion that we have, right? No. So, yeah. Going back to your question, I encourage people to, it's like, take what you think you know and throw it out the window because we do know a lot and there's a lot that we don't know, right? So I encourage questioning what you think you know and leaning into what else might be possible. Going back to one of the reasons why I stayed for so long in teaching was because I thought that What I knew was that I had to be responsible. What I
Yeah.
knew was that I had a mortgage to pay. And you don't do something so crazy as to leave a job and not have another one, you know? And then it started to question that. It's like, well, who do I know who has done something like that? Oh, is it possible for them? Oh, well, I guess it means it's possible for me too. So, you know, does that make sense? It's
It
like
does. It does so much.
questioning.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
questioning is, and when I think about questioning, I think about learning. Like I'm
Mhm.
questioning this so that I can move forward, and I'm knowing more so that I can move forward. If you think about, and maybe you can think about the last 10 actions that you had with Chat GPT.
Mhm.
Were they knowledge-based questions because you just wanted to know? Are they things that lead you to learn more? I'll give you an example of both.
Okay.
So last night I'm on ChatGPT and I'm watching a show and I see an actor that's been on another show and I want to know like what other show that actor was on. Right. So I type into ChatGPT or IMDb or whatever it is, and it tells me this actor was in a show that one of the ones I loved, and I kind of knew who it was, right? That's all knowledge, right? I'm not trying to learn about like
Mhm.
what, because who cares, right? It isn't helping me grow. It's just me and my mind wanting to know. But
Right.
then when I think about wanting to learn, I'm typing in there, okay, if I want to have more folks that are entering in to my space or to, if I want to get, let's say I want to get more subscribers to this, you now I'm asking it, what are some things that I can do that's going to allow me to create a bigger strategy? So now I'm in learning mode, right? I'm learning because I'm
Yeah.
asking the software to come back to me and let me know what can I do next that I don't know that I can learn how to do.
Mhm.
And I think if we're using it as a learning tool, I mean,
Yeah.
but you think about it, if you think about your last 10 interactions, are they mostly knowledge based? Or are they learning based? I know what they are for my dad, but what are they for you?
Yeah, you know, so my last couple of interactions, I used ChatGPT to help me to respond to an email from someone where my interpretation of the what I read was that the person was upset or some kind of flavor of negative. But I didn't know if it was just my own projection. So I asked ChatGPT, you know, to read this for tone, just to get a different input. And then to help me to respond in a way where it took away any emotion that I might have had and just made it professional and, you know, and nice, but get my point across. So I've used it like that. And I've used it a lot as a thinking partner. You know,
Okay.
like, here's my idea for this workshop that I have. You know, this is describes my audience. You know, what are some ideas that you see that, you know, would resonate with them? So I've used it in that way as well. For fact finding, I have to say, I still go to Google. I was watching a movie with Julianne Moore over the weekend. And I said, how old is she? I mean, she looks amazing, but I know she's not 25. So I went to Google to ask. So yeah, you still use Google for information that I
Yeah.
want to know, and then ChatGPT for analyzing, clarifying, communicating, you know, more
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking of like some of the NLP stuff that when you're doing this analyzation and you're putting this in and then interpreting for tone and that kind of stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
can imagine once it adds in knowing who you are and your knowledge base, and
Mm-hmm.
then adding some of the other best people in the world, now you have a tool that's even more spectacular than the tool of just your own mind
Oh
because
yeah.
of the things that you're learning and growing.
And
This, I
because
guess,
it knows NLP and it knows hypnotherapy as well. I've used ChatGPT to help me to create metaphors for clients. Yeah.
yeah, so that's just not knowledge based. That's learning and using
Mm-hmm.
this system of tools
Yep.
to learn. And so what I'm finding, and the reason I'm asking you this is because I'm finding a lot of people who are super scared are just using it for knowledge base. They're not using it as a tool to help
Okay.
them become more. And
Yeah.
so that, and that's where I go, so how's that different? When I think about my teachers that I grew up with, not me being a teacher, but when I had teachers growing up, it was almost all knowledge based. It was like, write these things down and then you regurgitate them to me, tell me that you know them, and somehow you're going to be a better person because you know these things. Here's a great example. So when I finished my teaching, degree, I decided I wanted to be a PE teacher. So I got a degree in physical education and a degree in communication. And so I'm in California. I'm doing this. I decided I'm going to come back to Colorado. I come back to Colorado and apply to become a teacher, and I have to take the test like your friend did that takes the test. Well, in Colorado, in order to be a PE teacher in 87 or 88, I had to pass 150-word spelling test. And I think of words like onomatopoeia, like I'm helping people on a track, or out throwing a ball, or
That's hysterical. Yeah.
And now they're saying, well, no, you have to spell all these words correctly. When am I ever going to use a chalkboard and write words and show kids as an example, but I don't know how to spell? Well, I have dyslexia. There's no way I'm passing that test. And I had to go back to California to start my teaching career because I had to know how to spell. And I think of right now, like as an educator or an adult right now, and as a coach, as like you are that are teaching things, how much things do people actually have to know, like in their knowledge base compared to what they can find out? But if you're teaching them how to find the answers, isn't that a better skill?
It is. Yeah. What is that saying about teaching a man? You could teach a man to fish and he'll have food for the rest of his life. Yeah, there's a lot.
Give a man a fish, he eats for a day.
Give a man a fish, right?
Yeah, teach him a fish and he eats for a lifetime.
Yeah, there's a lot. I can't say I remember much of the facts that I had to memorize for the tests in school. I don't remember much at all. So
and math and some of those, I mean, I think you need to know the basics of some of it. And I'm sure there's math folks that would tell you have to memorize formulas. Like Pythagorean theorem, whatever those formulas were that we had to regurgitate.
I know I learned that, but I don't remember it.
Exactly. But when any kid now today can pick up their phone and just tell them to calculate to calculate for me. What do I need to know the formula for? This is what I'm trying to, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm trying to do. Can you calculate that for me? So, and that doesn't work. I mean, I jumped into AI because it's, it seems to be more structured. But what about in the world that you're in and the things that you're coaching and the mindfulness, and what is it that you would tell people is important that they need to know, or grow through in order to have these purposeful, fulfilled lives?
I think it's important for people to know that it's okay to trust themselves. I know a lot of times for many people, we seek answers from other people. We ask for advice because we don't trust ourselves. But like I had said in the beginning, I've really learned that we know a whole lot more than we think that we do, and that the answers that we have are inside of us. So I would say be willing and be courageous enough to stop. Like we're constantly taking in and absorbing, we're scrolling on social media, we're playing with ChatGPT, we're bringing in a lot of information all the time, and we can only take in so much. A lot of what we're taking in, we just cannot even take it in, right? We just don't have the mental bandwidth to do it. So what's important for you to take in? Is it aligned with the goals that you have? Is what you're taking in, is it fueling you? Is it energizing you? Or do you feel more drained and depleted? So I think asking questions of yourself, becoming curious, and being willing to stop and sit in silence. Oh my God, I know it's scary. And let yourself feel whatever feelings come up. I mean, it's so fun. And I know this, yet I do it because we're just operating on default. We're just a program. Even, and I'm sure people can relate to this, the staying busy and working till late at night something that I still do. Why is that? Why is it that it's like every night I say, I'm going to sit down earlier, I'm going to relax before I go to bed, and there I go again, creating some more content using ChatGPT till 10, 11 o'clock at night, because then I don't have to feel the loneliness of sitting on the couch too early. So, right? And if we were just to, and I've done it with myself, and I'm still here, I survived. Sit down at 7 p.m. on that couch. Feel whatever you're going to feel. I have felt like not good enough, a loser, all the things. It subsides. You'll feel the discomfort for a couple of minutes. Breathe through it. Take those deep, mindful breaths. And then you start to realize, you know what? I'm okay. And then that's how you change something, like the pattern of working too much or being a workaholic or working too late, let's just say.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love how you said that. So we got to trust ourselves. And I think a lot of why we don't trust ourselves because we don't feel like we're enough. And then when you add in our, like you said, scrolling and social media, we start comparing ourselves to the best lives of what we're scrolling and looking at.
Yeah.
And now it just goes backwards, right? Like, oh, I can't do what they're doing, so I'm definitely not enough. Now I can't trust myself to be able to do enough. Are there things that when you sit down in that silence that you can start speak? Because I think a lot of us, we want to turn to like the internet or social media or others, or even watching somebody in a TV show that's pretend, that give us some kind of value or belief. Okay, I'm enough. Or like the news, right? We watch the news because at least we realize our lives aren't as bad as the other people out there. What are some things we can do?
Some of the first thing you could do is start to develop trust with yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, you've got to develop it. It's like a muscle. And one way I have done this, and I tell my clients to do it, is start small. Start by doing the things you say you're going to do to build trust. So if I say, oh, I'm gonna attend your event tonight on Zoom at 7 o'clock, do it. Or don't say you're going to do it. Because if you say you're going to do it and you don't do it, you break integrity with yourself.
Yes.
And your trust wavers.
Yes.
If you say, oh, tonight I'm going to make, vodka sauce for dinner, you tell your kids that, make it. Or don't say that you're going to do it. So little things like that. And if you say you're going to go food shopping on Tuesday, then so find little small ways that you can build trust with yourself. And then you'll start to notice that it starts to grow and you start to have more trust in yourself. And then you'll be more inclined to go to yourself for, what do I do? What's my next step? Because you do know the answer, and you know by how you feel inside. How many times has anybody given you advice and you felt resistant to it?
Yeah.
Right? Because it wasn't aligned.
Yeah. I just hear in my mind Tony Robbins saying the most powerful force in the universe is being congruent with the identity that you hold for yourself. And that identity that you hold for yourself is based on the things and the promises that you make to yourself and keeping those. What a great place to start. What a great place to start. Oh, thank you. Nikki, I mean, I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour. This is it just goes so fast. You are so fascinating.
Thank you. It flew by.
I was very selfish in asking the questions that I could learn from, that I thought could help move me forward. But you also came on here because you wanted to tell us, of all the cool things that you're doing. I'm going to ask you to come onto our community and maybe teach some classes and do some wonderful things. But maybe you can just share with us all the things that we didn't talk about that you wanted to make sure that everybody knew, and how to get a hold of you and all those kind of things.
Thank you, Dr. B. You get a hold of me. I'm all over social media, LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook. My website is my name, nikkigangemi.com. I have a bunch of free resources for people to get started and just learning how to quiet their mind and to feel more calm and confident and to take aligned action towards the life that you want. so you could feel more on purpose.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Oh man, just I just like, you just have one of these spirits about you that, if I get to spend some time with Nikki Gangemi, that I'm going to really be able to kind of change some of the ways that I might be thinking about myself, and some of the ways that can now propel me into things that I want to do. You've been a great example of, hey, somebody who says, hey, I tried stuff and it didn't work, but that didn't mean I stopped. That didn't mean I gave up on it. It mean that I just went a little bit different, maybe a little bit of different direction, to figure out what that truly looked like and what I could absolutely do. And now you're in a space where you have the ability to help others. And I so appreciate you coming on today and sharing who you are with us. And you and I are going to spend some more time in our lives together, because I
Yes,
know
we are.
you could absolutely help me in the things that I want to achieve, and the folks that we are going to connect with, and the folks that we're going to help, and the folks that we're going to make a difference in those lives, because there's so much turmoil out there that I think doesn't need to be there. But it's something that
Yes.
we might even create it on ourselves, but I don't know if we know we're creating it. We're just kind of walking through and taking in all the stuff that's hitting us, and then not knowing how to deal with it. And then that becomes kind of the identity that doesn't need to be that of what it is. Because if we want more, we should be able to get more. So give us one last thought, one last thing that you would love to share, to make sure that everybody walks away with here going, I got to talk to Miss Nikki.
Thank you. Final thought, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. Love yourself. How do I love myself? Because we're always told to do that. Ask yourself this question. What's one loving thing I can do for myself today? It could be as simple as I put a little blanket over my lap because it felt a little chilly in here. That was one loving thing that I did for myself. It's in the simple, it's in the nuances that really make a big difference in your life.
Did you do something already today, or something yesterday for yourself?
Other than putting the blanket on myself? Oh, you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to go to the gym, because that is loving for myself too. After I've been on Zoom since 10 a.m. this morning, I'm going to move my body on the mat. And then I'm going to cook myself a really delicious dinner. So that's three loving things.
That's 3 things.
Yeah.
When I hear you say that too, a couple things came to my mind, things that I could do that love myself. But then for whatever reason, I thought of like things that my wife would want to do so that I could love myself. Like she would tell me, this is what you need to go do. Like, you need to go to the gym, and that might not be what it is that loves on myself for me. So, don't do somebody else's vision for you. Make sure when you're loving on yourself, it's your vision for you, right? I mean, it's just so fun to think about that. Well, cool. Well, thank you for your time today. Thank you for being here and spending this amazing time with us. I have so enjoyed myself. I have been fulfilled, and I can go through the rest of my day thinking, wow, I had just another great conversation with somebody else. If this is your first podcast with us, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit notifications. These are fun. We have people every single week that are just going to pour into your lives to help you live that life boldly and to just make sure that your life can be all that you would want it to be. Again, I believe that you're God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And I cannot wait to talk to you guys on the next one. You guys have an amazing, awesome, incredible day today.